Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let's start with a number that honestly is pretty staggering, 72%.
72, yeah.
That's how much of the world's freshwater withdrawals go straight into agriculture. Now, uh, layer on top of that population growth. We're looking at maybe 10.3 billion people by, what, 2084? And needing 50% more food by 2050.
The demand side is just relentless.
Absolutely. And we're trying to meet this massive need with, well, a tiny fraction of Earth's water. Only about half of 1% is usable freshwater. Yeah, the pressure is immense.
It really is unsustainable with current methods.
Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today into automated irrigation. It's this huge shift, isn't it, from centuries of, let's say, educated guesswork
Yeah, guesswork is a good word for it sometimes.
to agriculture driven purely by data, precision data.
And it's a shift we desperately need. Our sources really hammer home how inefficient traditional methods are. Take gravity-fed surface irrigation,
Yeah.
still very common worldwide.
The oldest method, basically,
Yeah.
flooding the field.
Pretty much. And its efficiency, maybe 50 to 60%, if you're lucky.
So wait, that means almost half the water is just lost before the plants even see it.
Precisely. 40, maybe 50% just vanishes. It either sinks way down, deep percolation below the roots,
Where the plants can't get it.
right, or it just runs off the field entirely. And this inefficiency, it comes with these like hidden costs,
Like it costs.
big ones.
Okay.
Bad water management leads to nutrient leaching, soil getting salty, salinization. Economically, we're seeing farms hit by salt issues with net incomes, like 85% lower than their neighbors.
Wow, 85% lower income. That's devastating for a farm.
It absolutely is. And then there's the environment, that runoff. It carries fertilizers, pesticides into rivers, lakes.
Fueling those algal blooms we hear about.
Exactly. Harmful algal blooms. And even public health suffers. Poorly managed water can create breeding grounds for disease vectors, like mosquitoes.
So automated irrigation, it's way more than just saving water. It sounds like an urgent fix for economics, environment, even health.
It really touches all those areas. And the potential gains are huge. We're talking 20 to 50% water savings over the old ways.
Okay.
And yield increases, too. Often 10 to 35% higher crop yields.
Which means for farms that can actually make the switch, the investment pays off.
Surprisingly quickly, yeah. The ROI, the return on investment, is often just 1.5 to 2 years for well-capitalized farms.
Okay, let's unpack this. How did we even get to this point? What's the journey been like?
Well, the history of irrigation is basically the history of civilization trying to beat scarcity, right? You look back at Sumerian canals, Roman aqueducts.
The Persian qanats to brilliant systems, really, minimizing evaporation.
Amazing engineering. Yeah. But all based on just moving water broadly, relying on human eyes and experience.
There were distribution networks, fundamentally uncontrolled at the point of use. Then, the Industrial Revolution brought pumps,
Like,
mechanization. And the 20th century gave us center pivots, those huge sprinklers crawling across fields.
right, which brought uniformity over vast areas. A big step. But still, kind of blunt instrument, you know?
How so?
Well, they'd spray the same amount of water everywhere. Didn't matter if one part of the field was sandy and drained fast, and another part was heavy clay. It lacked real precision, real responsiveness to the actual need.
Gotcha. So the two big modern leaps completely changed the game. First was microirrigation, drip system.
Exactly, drip. Getting water right to the root zone, drop by drop. That alone cuts water use massively, up to 50% sometimes, just by slashing evaporation and runoff.
Huge improvement already.
But the second step, that's the truly revolutionary one. Smart irrigation. This is where you merge the physical hardware with the digital world.
The Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, all that buzz.
All that buzz, yeah, but applied directly.
Yeah.
The system stops working on a simple timer. It's Tuesday, water the north field.
Right.
Instead, it becomes dynamic. It constantly asks, what's happening right now in the field? And adjusts watering based on that real-time data. It's responsive.
Okay, so to really get how this works, you mentioned breaking it down, these three layers.
Yeah, thinking of it in layers helps. You've got the sensing layer, the eyes and ears in the field, then the connectivity layer, the data highway, and finally the control and analytics layer, the brain.
Eyes, highway, brain. Got it. So, layer one, sensing. What are the key eyes and ears?
This is all about collecting the raw data, moving past the guesswork. And the absolute star here is the soil moisture sensor. Critical.
Makes sense.
We mainly see two types being used. One just measures the percentage of water in the soil that's volumetric water content. Uses tech like TDR or FDR.
Okay, straightforward enough. How much water is there?
But the other type, it's maybe more insightful for the plant itself. Soil water tension sensors, like tensiometers.
Tension, what does that measure?
It measures the energy the plant needs to actually pull water out of the soil particles. So it tells you directly how thirsty or stressed the plant is feeling.
Ah, okay. That's clever. More direct feedback.
Exactly. And you add other sensors, weather stations right there in the field measuring rain, temp, humidity, wind.
To calculate evaporation.
Evapotranspiration, yeah.
Yeah.
ET. How much water is leaving the soil and the plants. Plus, you might have nutrient sensors, especially if you're doing fertigation, applying fertilizer through the irrigation.
Right.
And flow sensors in the pipes. Super important. They can spot a leak instantly, saving potentially huge water losses.
Okay, so you've got all this data pouring in from sensors scattered across potentially huge remote fields. How does it get back to the brain? That's layer 2, connectivity.
That's the data highway, yeah. And you can't just use your home Wi-Fi out there. Agriculture needs solutions built for long range and, crucially, low power.
Because the sensors are often battery-powered, miles from anywhere.
Exactly, which is why LoRaWAN is such a big deal here, long-range wide area network.
LoRaWAN.
It's designed perfectly for this, sending small bits of data like a moisture reading over really long distances using hardly any power. Your sensors can last for years on a single battery.
That battery life is absolutely key for practicality.
Totally. But it's not the only player. For things needing more speed or less delay, like controlling a robot tractor or analyzing drone images fast, you'd look at 5G.
Higher bandwidth, lower latency.
Right.
Yeah.
And for those truly remote places, way off the grid where there are no cell towers, satellite IoT is stepping in to provide that connection.
So LoRaWAN for low power, long range, 5G for speed, satellite for remote coverage, a mix of tools.
A connectivity toolkit, essentially.
And all that data flows into layer 3, control and analytics, the intelligent brain. This is where the AI and machine learning really come in.
This is where the magic happens, you could say, where data becomes decisions, becomes action.
Oh.
Algorithms take all that real-time sensor data, mash it up with historical weather patterns, climate forecasts, even specific models about how that particular crop grows.
Okay.
And then they run what's called prescriptive analytics. They don't just report the data, they predict future water needs and prescribe the best irrigation strategy.
So it figures out tomorrow, field B needs exactly this much water applied over this duration.
Precisely. And it does it automatically. Dynamic scheduling sends commands directly to the pumps, the valves, opens and closes them as needed, takes human error or just forgetting out of the equation.
The results you mentioned earlier, more crop per drop, sound really compelling when you understand that whole system working together.
Yeah, the quantified benefits are pretty strong. And it's not just about efficiency day to day, it builds resilience. Resilience against drought, against weird rainfall patterns caused by climate change.
Which farmers are dealing with more and more.
Constantly. So yeah, yield increases are consistent. Studies show generally 10 to 25% is common. Some specific cases show smart irrigation boosting crop productivity by nearly 35%.
And that translates to money, obviously.
Absolutely. One analysis found it led to a 24% increase in income per hectare. Not insignificant.
You also mentioned something interesting about quality, not just quantity, with wine grapes.
Ah, right. That's a fascinating example of precision control. For some high-value crops, like wine grapes, growers can intentionally use the system to induce very specific controlled water stress at certain growth stages.
Why would they want to stress the plant?
Because that stress can trigger the vine to develop more concentrated flavors, specific compounds in the grapes that lead to a higher quality wine,
Wow.
which commands a premium price. So you're literally sculpting the final product with water. It's moving from farming with a fire hose to farming with, like, a pipette.
That's a great analogy, and we see this playing out in real-world examples.
Definitely. Look at California almonds. Huge industry facing chronic water shortages. They were early adopters.
Makes sense.
Now, something like 80% of their orchards use micro-irrigation. And over about 2 decades, they've managed to improve their water efficiency by 33%. Major progress.
33% is huge for an entire industry at that scale.
It really is. Or think about the U.S. Midwest Corn Belt, those massive fields with the center pivots we talked about.
Yeah.
Many are now retrofitted with variable rate irrigation, VRI, instead of spraying uniformly.
Which was the old problem.
Right. VRI uses detailed soil maps, knowing this patch is sandy, that patch is clay, and adjusts the sprinkler's nozzle by nozzle as the pivot moves. It applies water only where it's needed, at the rate it's needed.
Turning that blunt tool into a surgical one.
Exactly. Optimizing yield across fields that have lots of natural variability.
Okay, so the tech is powerful, the results seem clear, especially for bigger operations.
Yeah.
But here's the catch, right? If it's so good, why isn't every single farm using it already? What are the hurdles?
And that's the critical question. You hit it. Scale often matters. The number one barrier, money.
Right.
Simple as that.
The upfront cost.
The high upfront costs, all those sensors, the gateways, the software subscriptions, it's a significant capital investment. That's often just out of reach for small or medium-sized family farms.
Creating a divide then. Advantage, large agribusiness.
It definitely creates an immediate competitive advantage for those with deep pockets.
Okay, cost is one thing, but surely once it's installed, it gets easier. I mean, the software often has user-friendly dashboards, right?
Yes and no. The dashboards might look simple, but managing the system, that's another story. There's a very real technical skill gap,
Meaning,
meaning farmers need more than basic computer skills. They need a level of digital literacy to actually interpret the data correctly, to fine-tune the system for their specific soil and crop, and crucially, they need to know how to troubleshoot the hardware when something goes wrong.
like when a sensor dies or loses connection.
Exactly. It's not always just plug and play, especially in harsh farm environments. You need some hands-on tech know-how.
And if that local support, that know-how isn't there, the whole thing can fall apart.
Painfully so. We have a really stark case study in the source material about this. Smallholder coffee growers in Central America,
Okay.
they were given advanced cloud-connected soil moisture probes. Great tech. Worked fine initially, but the project completely collapsed after just one season.
Why? What happened?
It wasn't the core tech itself. A simple network gateway failed, maybe a lightning strike, who knows. But the nearest person trained to fix it, a 6-hour drive away.
Uh-oh.
There was zero local expertise. Nobody on the ground knew how to diagnose it, let alone repair it. The farmers, understandably, lost all trust in this expensive black box that suddenly stopped working
And went back to what they knew.
immediately. Back to their traditional methods, relying on generations of experience. The lesson is crystal clear. You can throw technology at a problem, but without transferring the knowledge and building local support, it's likely to fail. Tech transfer needs knowledge transfer.
That's a powerful, sobering example. So those are the challenges at the farm level. But you mentioned zooming out, systemic risks, policy issues.
Right. Because even if we solve the cost and skill gap on the farm, we run into bigger system-level problems. This is where efficient technology meets, well, human nature and economics.
Okay.
It brings us to this tricky concept known as the rebound effect, or sometimes the Jevons paradox.
Jevons paradox. Sounds ominous.
It can be. Let's say a farmer invests in smart irrigation and successfully saves, say, 20% of their water compared to before.
Great. That 20% goes back to the river or aquifer.
That's what you'd hope, but often, no. What frequently happens is the farmer sees that saved water not as water to be conserved for the ecosystem, but as a new resource they can now use
Use how?
to expand their irrigated land, bring more acres into production, or maybe switch from growing, say, wheat to growing almonds or cotton crops that use more water but bring in much higher profits.
Ah, so the efficiency goes up on the original field, but the total water withdrawn from the whole basin might stay the same or even increase.
Exactly. Efficiency gains at the micro level get canceled out, or even reversed at the macro watershed level,
Yeah.
unless policy steps in.
That's counterintuitive and a huge policy challenge.
Massive. And there are other knock-on effects, socioeconomic ones. Automation, by its nature, displaces labor. Fewer workers needed for tasks like moving irrigation pipes or managing floodgates.
Right, job impacts.
And remember the high capital cost. It favors larger operations. This accelerates farm consolidation. Big farms getting bigger, squeezing out smaller family farms. That changes the whole social structure of rural communities.
More consolidation, less diversity and ownership.
Often, yes. And finally, let's not forget the green footprint of this green tech. Making millions of sensors requires mining resources. Running the AI platforms in the cloud consumes significant energy. And what happens to all this electronic equipment when it becomes obsolete in a few years? E-waste is a growing challenge.
So it's complex. Powerful tool, yes. Silver bullet, definitely not. Given all that, what's the actual roadmap? How do we make this work towards true water security, not just isolated efficiency?
It has to be strategic, involving everyone. For farmers themselves, the advice is go slow, be deliberate, start with a proper plan, a really honest cost-benefit analysis for their specific situation.
Don't just jump at the fanciest tech.
Exactly. Maybe start with a small pilot project on one field. And critically, use the data to enhance their existing knowledge, their traditional ecological understanding, Don't let the tech replace experience. Let it augment it. It's a decision support tool.
Okay, that makes sense for the farmer. What about tackling that cost barrier, especially for smaller operations? What can business and investors do?
This is where new business models are crucial. Things like irrigation as a service,
Like
IaaS.
irrigation as a service, like software as a service.
Kind of, yeah. Instead of a huge upfront purchase, CapEx, the farmer pays a regular fee for the equipment, maintenance, software updates, OpEx. It turns a massive capital hurdle into a predictable operating cost. Much more accessible,
Lowering the barrier to entry.
significantly. And the industry also needs to push for open standards, interoperability. So a farmer isn't locked into one company's sensors, controllers, software. Everything should ideally work together.
Avoid vendor lock-in. Good point. And lastly, policymakers. Water authorities. What's their role? It sounds critical, especially regarding that rebound effect.
Absolutely critical. Two big things. First, infrastructure. Treat rural broadband and cellular connectivity like the essential public utilities they now are, like electricity or roads.
Mm.
Without reliable data connection, none of this works.
The data highway needs to be public and robust.
Yes. And second, arguably most important,
Oh.
policy reform. Those old use it or lose it water rights laws, they actively incentivize wasting water to protect your allocation for next year. That has to change.
Wow.
Implement policies that decouple water rights from historical use. Things like water banking, water leasing, or programs that directly pay farmers for verified water conservation. Reward saving water, don't punish it. That's the only way to really counteract the Jevons paradox at the basin scale.
Make conservation profitable.
Make it economically rational.
Okay, this has been quite the deep dive. We started with that sobering 72% figure for agriculture's water use, but we've seen how automated smart irrigation offers a path towards precision, better yields, climate resilience.
It really is a powerful catalyst, no question. It could fundamentally change our relationship with water in food production. But its success ultimately isn't about the sensors or the AI.
It's about the people and the policies.
Exactly. It's a human challenge. Success depends on fostering collaboration, closing that skill gap with real training and local support, ensuring the systems are reliable and trusted.
So the final thought then, what does this all mean? Where does this leave us?
It leaves us realizing that the future of smart irrigation really hinges on governance. If our policies don't evolve, if water rights stay locked to outdated ideas, are we just automating efficiency for the benefit of large private players, letting them expand using saved water? Or are we actually building a system that ensures long-term, equitable water security for everyone, for the whole ecosystem?
High-tech farming versus genuine